Welcome to the X's and Argos film session for Toronto's second game of the 2022 regular season. My name is Ben Grant. Today we're going to focus on the struggles of the Argos defensive backs against the BC Lions. It was a rough outing for them, there's no question. They gave up 436 yards, 4 touchdowns. But honestly, I'm not worried about the defensive backs. And the reason for that is, well, one, I know who they are, I know what they're capable of. But number two, they weren't getting beat due to a lack of ability. That would be more concerning for me. If they just weren't talented enough, well, now I'm worried. But that's not what it was. Across the board, you got Jamal Peters, Shaq Richardson, Royce Metchie, Deshaun Amos, Tavares McFadden. They're outstanding defensive backs individually right now, but collectively they will be great by the end of the season. It's just going to take some time. Remember, 3 of these guys are new to the team. Coach Bell has only worked with them just for a brief period of time last year. Coach Fields is new, and they've got a new defensive coordinator in Coach Mace. So there's a lot of new pieces, and communication breakdowns really are the main issue in zone coverage. And the result of it is what we saw Saturday night. It's busts and breakdowns, and we'll go through some of them right now. So let's take a look at Nathan Rourke's first touchdown pass of the night. This is just a go route to Brian Burnham. There's a little bit of action in the backfield. A lot of it's Lucky Whitehead based, and this is going to be a little bit of a theme. I hope there's somebody in BC right now doing a film session for BC on how well the BC offense used their own plays from week 1 to set up what we saw in week 3, because the Argos were all over Lucky Whitehead on some of that action that we saw in the backfield that they showed in week 1 against Edmonton, but the plays were different this time. There were plays off those plays, and that's really what caught Toronto off guard. So there's a bit of a mix-up on this play. This is probably on McFadden, though it's also possible Amos is at fault here. Depends exactly what the call was. McFadden thinks he's got the flats. You can see him jump up immediately. So if he's got flats, then there's help over top. That's how that always works. But we've got a few problems with that scenario. So first of all, Robert Priester, you see him here. He appears to have flats, but what I think is happening here is this is a designed response to Lucky Whitehead's backfield action. So because BC ran plays like this to him in the opener that I was just talking about, this is the sort of programmed response for it. But yeah, BC kind of outsmarts Toronto here by building in a progression where Butler, who also was big in week 1, and Whitehead are decoys, and Rourke is looking downfield. So if that is Priester's adjustment, then McFadden needs to diagnose that as well. He needs to know, okay, Priester's going on this, so his responsibilities now change. Now, a bigger issue is that the Argos are playing sort of a cover 2 look over top, which they did a ton of. We had so many 2-deep safety looks at the game on Saturday. I'm just not a big fan of that in CFL football, but they obviously felt like they had something in that look. Or perhaps they're also looking to protect some DBs that are a little bit banged up, and man-to-man coverage isn't ideal for that scenario. So maybe that's what we were looking at. But we talked about this on a podcast a few weeks ago. In cover 2, if you're a corner and you've got a field side go route, you've got to go with him. Even if you've got flats responsibility, you can't just let that guy sail by, because otherwise it's an easy completion. It's kind of like the one we've got here. It's just far too deep. Far too wide for the help to get over. And here Amos is frozen, and so that makes it impossible for him. They've sent sort of a pogo concept on this side at him. So there's a post route to the inside, go route to the outside. And the post route is what keeps him from getting to the outside. Because if he takes off for the go route here, well, how easy is this touchdown pass in the post? And there's a whip or a bang route underneath. That's probably where Rourke would have gone if McFadden had stuck to Burnham like I want him to. But that doesn't really come into play here. It looks like this is on McFadden, but there's a possibility this is on Amos instead. So what if Whitehead's action that we see in the backfield is supposed to check this defense into rolling coverage, which is possible, actually advisable. I love rolling 2 and 3 against what would sort of end up being a quads look here. So was it supposed to be a roll? Let's take a look at this. So Priester fires into the backfield because of Whitehead's action. Shaq, who we see here, appears to be rolling to replace Metchie. If that's the case, Mechie should roll to take the post and Amos should roll to take the go. And obviously he never gets there. So if that was the call, McFadden's actually in the correct position. It's Amos who's out of place. So we don't really know who to point the finger to on that one, but it doesn't really matter. The point is there was a breakdown somewhere here, and that has to be fixed. Touchdown number 2. So we got quads again, or 1x4 if you prefer. Off topic, I love quads with the new hash marks. I want to see Toronto do a lot more of that. They gave a couple of these looks, and I actually really liked the way the BC lined up against it. I thought Toronto had some opportunities, but they just didn't go back to that too much. But I digress. Let's get back to our film study. So the Argos are in split cover 3. They've got hold to the field, so the halfback has flats and cut to the boundary. So flats for Peters. And Shaq has deep third on this side. But this sort of messes with Toronto's rules a little bit, because in 1x4, there's no sense in keeping Peters and Shaq pinned to the sideline on one guy. He's going to run a go route here. I get wanting to double Whitehead. I get that they wanted to take him away, but you can't just stick with this look with a corner and a halfback on a go route, because you're now leaving 3v4 on the field side. So because it's quads, Shaq and Peters have to essentially play this the way that we just talked about that last play, playing a go route in cover 2. And so I know Peters technically has flats, but McManus is going to come down. He's going to take the first back out. So he's taking the back out of the backfield. So really, Peters should stick with Whitehead all the way. There's no other threat to the flats, and Shaq should be splitting the difference here. And that's, you can see the exasperation on Mechie's face with his body language. That's what he thought was happening. He thought Shaq was going to split the difference in playing his deep third, and that would allow Mechie to go with Burnham, who's over the middle. And that's why there's this large hole in the defense. These are really nice concepts against a team that showed vulnerability against go routes and zone coverage a week ago. And lucky for BC, the Argos had not sorted this out, and they got to get on this soon, because Winnipeg is going to throw the same stuff at them until they prove that they can stop it. Passing touchdown number 3. So this is like fake X quick wheel. I love this play, but you don't usually see the sort of pump and go too much at the professional level. But this is when you catch defenses cheating a little bit. Again, this is a play that takes advantage of Toronto's film study from last week. So we've got a quick pump fake to Whitehead on a quick screen, a play they ran successfully, and you see what happens here. So both Shaq and Peters come charging in. Katoy, he's doing a little bit of acting here. He comes out on his route, and he looks like he's going in to block the defender, to block most dangerous defender, which is Peters here. But then he just sort of strolls past him instead. And we don't have the angle to see the coverage from the press box. I remember thinking that this was double hold. So if I'm right on that, Peters should have gone with Katoy, and Shaq's got Whitehead in the flats. But they both come barreling in on Whitehead, and Katoy is all alone. Whitehead celebrating as soon as he sees Rourke look downfield. He knows right away, because he knows what the purpose was. He knows how they set this up. And Toronto just repeatedly walked into everything BC set up, as like Wile E. Coyote style. And there just has to be better preparation for week-to-week adjustments. When you see a team use quick screens with great success, like obviously, yes, you're going to prepare for the quick screens, but you better be thinking about what they're going to build off of that. So we've seen the quick screens. Well, now there's going to be another step to it. And Toronto just kept getting their pants pulled down in the lobby on Saturday night because they weren't ready for the evolution of that play. And finally, touchdown pass number 4. I thought this was a bust when I saw it live. It's actually not. And so I take back what I said about this being a communication breakdown. That's not what's actually going on here. I was watching the run blitz. They're manned to the field. And when I looked up, I saw that Rhymes was all alone. So I had assumed that there was a switch call that wasn't communicated properly. And that's why both guys seemed to end up on the inside guy. I think it's Hatcher. So what actually happens is we've got a deep smash concept, and it's off the picture here, but as Amos' speed turns, it looks like he re-aggravates that hip injury that he was nursing all week. And if it's not the hip injury, then it could be right hamstring. It's hard to tell, but you can see him pull up a little bit. So that's the reason Rhymes was wide open. It wasn't a bust or a breakdown. This is an injury. And Eric Sutton came in for him on the next drive. Hopefully, Amos is able to go next week. But hip injuries, hamstring injuries, these aren't injuries that go away when you're playing on them. So he may need a little bit of rest. But yeah, that fourth touchdown, this is not a bust. It's an unfortunate injury, horribly timed, and you hate to see this happen at this stage of the game. So look, the Argos defensive backs looked bad in this film. They looked bad Saturday night. They're good players. You don't need to worry about the Argos defensive backs. I'm telling you, they had a terrible week with a number of mental mistakes. They're definitely outcoached. But like I said off the top, I'm not worried. I don't think you should be either. I don't know Coach Fields yet, but I know Coach Bell. I know these DBs well enough to know that this isn't going to keep happening. It's going to get sorted out. But it has to start with healthy players being able to practice. Part of the problem that we had on Saturday night was that a lot of these guys haven't been able to practice. Peter was banged up. Amos was banged up. We didn't exactly know who was going to go. And so they're not able to get out there on the practice field going full speed, communicating at full speed. And hopefully we get a little bit more of that this week leading into the Winnipeg game. Thanks so much for watching this X's and Argos film session. Hopefully I've got a more positive one for you next week. I'll see you then.